Getting ready to step into your career era? Set yourself apart with Adobe Creative Cloud Pro for students. Hone your skills with apps like Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, and more, powered with the latest in creative AI. Students save over 55% so you can build a portfolio you're proud of. Launch your future with Adobe Creative Cloud Pro for students. Visit adobe.com/students to learn more.
Saturday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Saturday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Saturday. Saturday, bring it on.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hermanos y hermanas, mi nombre es Kilmar Abrego Garcia y siempre quiero que recuerden que hoy puedo decir con orgullo que estoy libre y me reuní con mi familia.
Brothers and sisters, my name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and I want you to remember this. Remember that I am free, and I was able to be reunited with my family.
Un milagro, gracias a Dios y gracias a toda la comunidad.
This was a miracle. Thank you to God, and thank you to the community power.
Y por eso quiero decirles las gracias a cada uno de ustedes que marcharon, levantaron sus voces y oraron y nunca dejaron de creer y luchar por mi libertad.
And this is why I want to thank each and every one of you who marched, lift your voices, never stopped praying, and continued to fight in my name.
My name is Simon Sandoval Moschenberg. I'm a partner at the immigration law firm of Murray Osorio PLLC in Maryland, Virginia, and New Jersey, and one of the many attorneys in the legal team that's been representing Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Mr. Abrego Garcia was taken into custody by ICE this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Monday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us, 800. We're not going to take calls anyway. Never mind. Because if we've got too much stuff, it's the fastest hour in American media, and it is here. Yes, you heard from him. You heard from Mr. Abrego applauding the multitudinous crowd that was gathered in Baltimore as he announced that he was a free man. And then you heard from his lawyer. He's not a free man. ICE has iced him again. However, latest developments in this case, a judge, the same judge that one of these same, there's 4 or 5 judges that always raise their little activist hands, and whatever Trump does, they try to derail it. Whatever the departments under Donald Trump do, they try to derail it. There's one of these judges is U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes, and so she took to the issued an order hours after Mr. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was detained by ICE. She issued an order that he cannot be deported right away, that there has to be another hearing, and, I don't know, she probably didn't order it, but I wouldn't be surprised one day if we learn that she also ordered margaritas for Mr. Garcia and his pal, Wowsy, Senator from Maryland, Kristen Van Hollen. Now, one of the things, and I didn't bother to put it here because I'll just tell you about it. Maybe we'll just put it in the sound stack for the best of sounds over the weekend. Was later on the same lawyer for Garcia, part of his immense legal team, Mr. Simon Sandoval Moschenberg, also was complaining because the reporter had asked him about the deal that is perhaps in the works, or maybe not, but the deal that would send Mr. Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Uganda, since he doesn't want to go to Costa Rica, since he doesn't want to take the they're offering him a plea deal. They said, look, pal, you just admit to this stuff, the human trafficking stuff, some of the other things that we allege that you've done. You just cop to it, and instead you'll go and you'll go serve your deportation in Costa Rica, nice friendly country. If you don't, if you want to play hardball, Mr. Garcia, then we're going to send you to Uganda. So, Mr. Warrior, Simon Sandoval Moschenberg, was asked about this, and he said, and I'm quoting, "It's preposterous. It's preposterous to consider sending Mr. Garcia to a country that has a different language. He doesn't know the language of the country, Uganda. It's preposterous that you send Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Uganda, even talk about it, because there's language barriers. He doesn't speak the language." Okay. Let me ask you, Carlos, what language is spoken in Uganda? Just off the top of your head, what language is spoken in Uganda? Just why are you looking sideways?
I don't know.
I don't know. Is that Phil? Phil, what language is, just off the top of your head, what language is spoken in Uganda?
Ugandan, that's an easy one.
What is it?
Ugandan? It's the language
Ugandan, okay.
Uganda?
Thank you, gotcha. TJ, don't IA it either.
I know the answer, though.
What language is spoken in Uganda? English! The Ugandans speak English! All those colonial, those colonizers. They left their mark in Uganda. The colonizers left their language. They speak English! And so, let us take him at its word. It is preposterous for Mr. Kilmar Abrego Garcia to be in a country where he doesn't speak the language. Let me ask you another question. What is the official language of America? We have one. Here, yeah, America.
English.
Okay, we heard from Mr. Garcia. We played his remarks. You heard him over the open. Let's just play that again briefly. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, just the first part of it. Let's listen to the first part of Kilmar when he was free for those moments this morning and addressing his crowd of supporters in Baltimore.
Hermanos y hermanas, mi nombre es Kilmar Abrego Garcia y siempre quiero que recuerden que hoy puedo decir con orgullo.
Okay, just stop it right there. Does that sound like English to you? So according to his own lawyer, it is preposterous that Mr. Garcia would be in these United States of America where English is the official language because he doesn't speak it. It's preposterous. And, sir, this may be something that a lot of Americans would agree with you, Mr. Simon Sandoval Moschenberg. Why should he be in a country where he doesn't speak the language? We just leave that aside. Now, there's a second part to this. You heard that crowd booing when he made the announcement that turned him off. So Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Garcia was just standing here. You were just rooting for him. Yeah, he's back in ICE detention. Boo! Boo! And then they start, shame, 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 shame. It's like that scene in the Game of Thrones when that woman was walking naked all throughout the city. They made her strip down naked. And she had to walk the walk of shame. And the crowd was just looking at her nakedness. And, the nakedness on her wasn't bad at the time, but they would just, come on. Some of the dudes in there appreciated it. I'm sure maybe some of the ladies too. But they was looking at her walking down the street butt naked. And they was shame, 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 shame. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I just have a simple question to ask. Little Ebonic. Have you ever seen a crowd in Baltimore gathered outside the homes where killers have been apprehended, especially those that have killed children? And Baltimore has seen its fair share of young, almost babies, and toddlers, and youngsters, and teenagers, and young adults murdered. Have you ever seen these crowds with their pink T-shirts and their lecterns standing up there? Have you ever seen them out saying shame, shame, shame around the criminals in Baltimore that have made Baltimore one of the deadliest places to live in the United States? Have you ever seen any of these crowds standing around saying shame, shame, shame in a city where the most widely known television show about what it's like to live life in Baltimore, The Wire, was acclaimed for being realistic, where it showed you the rampant drug dealing, the ghetto upon ghetto-ness of the city? Have you ever seen crowds around the drug dealers' dens and the abandoned properties? Shame, shame, shame. Democrats don't put together crowds to come out and protest that. Have you ever seen the Democrats put together crowds of people when the scores from the schools are announced like they were last year? And my friends, there were grades in Baltimore's public schools where not one child was up to grade ability in math. Not one child in Baltimore school districts could pass the math courses on grade level, and the reading courses were just as miserable. Have you ever seen crowds with their little pink shirts of Democrats around these failing schools that have continued to fail Baltimore's children for decades? Crowds around there paid for by Democrats, shame, 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 or going to the school district, or going to these leaders where these kids, generations of them, come out of school illiterate. Have you ever seen them? Shame, shame, shame. No, they hold their shame when the law is enforced and illegal immigrant is being sent out of the country. Then these Democrats will organize a protest. And shame, shame, shame on the people that are trying to enforce the law. I'm going to have a little bit more on this. We're coming back. James Golden, Snerdley, Monday edition, both Snerdley's Rush. Shame, shame, shame. You know what else happened in 1967? I'll tell you in a bit. Well, yeah, important year for Baltimore, maybe. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I mentioned before the break, 1967, when we would listen to the box tops. It'll make sense in a moment. Cut 17, Carlos, the governor of Maryland, where all this is taking place in that crime-ridden city of Baltimore, was on PMS NBC, and he was asked a question about Baltimore. This is the response.
What historically has been Baltimore's greatest challenge? Why has Baltimore had a crime problem over the past 3-4 decades?
Well, I think oftentimes Baltimore's had a neglect problem. You know, and I think about Baltimore used to be a city of 920,000 people. Baltimore is now a city of just under 600,000. In fact, if you look at the past few decades, Baltimore's had one of the most precipitous drops in population that we have seen in our country, with the exception of Cleveland and Detroit. But let's also remember this. There's a legacy of Baltimore, that Baltimore is the home of redlining, that Baltimore is the home of housing racial segregation, that Baltimore is while we're proud of the fact that Baltimore is the home of Thurgood Marshall, Baltimore is also the home of some of the most creative segregationist policies that this country has seen.
Okay, that was Westmore. So, 300,000 people have gotten out of Baltimore. They fled for their lives. They've gone where they could actually have a safe life. And Governor Westmore talks about Baltimore's legacy. For decades, he says, don't forget, Baltimore is the city of redlining. Do you know what redlining is? Let me explain it really quickly. Redlining is real estate industry making sure that they keep the city segregated, that they make sure they don't let blacks in certain parts or other undesirables and keep it. And then he says, so he goes on, he says, and Baltimore is also the home of segregation. Let's forget, Thurgood Marshall was from Baltimore, but Baltimore, people are terrible in Baltimore. They're segregated. Okay, let me ask you a question. You will not know the answer to it, but I want you to guess. When was the last time there was a Republican mayor of Baltimore? Off the top of your head, how many years do you think that's been? Take a guess. Just throw a number at me.
I don't know, 1965?
Close. 1967 was the last time there was a Republican mayor. He's talking all this legacy of Baltimore. Who has been running Baltimore? Who were the segregationists? Who were the racists? Yes, the Democrats. We'll be back.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you know I'm taking grief because the Countess of Conspiracy says that I have objectified Circe when I was talking about her walking naked.
First of all, I believe that was a double doing it, but whatever.
You think that was a double walking naked?
Yep. Yes.
I don't know how you could tell, but okay.
Her CGI face, like they was trying, like the angles were not, were not there. And you could tell that they would put her face later on a different body that resembled the queen at the time. It was just a walk.
Okay. So, but I mean, does she, I guess the Countess doesn't know exactly who Circe was. Because if anybody deserved to be made to walk naked through the city, it would be this character. All right. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let us quickly cover some other areas. Princess Di, if you're out there listening, I have a request for you. There is a long article that I cannot get to today because it is too long. It is in the Nueva York Times. And it begins this way. The year is 2032. Studying the electoral map, a Democratic presidential candidate can no longer plan to sweep New Hampshire, Minnesota, and the blue wall battlegrounds of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and win the White House. a victory in the swing state of Nevada won't help either. This is an article, it's the headline, How the Electoral College Could Tilt Further from the Democrats. There is a companion story to this, not a companion, but in my view, companion, because, and of all places, this comes from the HungarianConservative.com. The HungarianConservative.com. It's about Cook, and Cook is America. Cook Political gives Republicans the edge in the House for the 2026 midterms. Then, a third story, which we're going to put together in all of this when I catch up with Princess this week. Trump's redistricting push could bring decades of Republican rule to the U.S. House. So those are three things that are happening out on the political field. There, my friends, Democrats, despite all this talking and this robust joy over Gavin Newsom doing what he's doing with redistricting, there's a lot of worry out there, and there's also a worry in the this was either New York Times or Washington Post. It was on Mondami, whose chances, at least from the polling, seem to indicate that he has a pretty good shot if he's not stopped. And by the way, I read an article on X about Curtis Sliwa's campaign, and a lot of people counting him out, but maybe they shouldn't. There was a big article about that, about a surge there, but the numbers for Cuomo were certainly not what they should be. Adams, to me, Adams. And all these, every week it's like a new scandal. One of his pals let off in handcuffs. I mean, come on, it just doesn't look good. But the article is in the Washington Post, where democracy, where journalism dies in broad daylight, the Washington Post. How Zoran Mamdani is teaching Democrats to lose. His critics warn he'll drag down the party's brand, but that's not the biggest danger for the midterms. So, going to put all four of those articles together and see if I can grab, oh boy, now I'm going to defer this question to you, Carlos. I got another question on text about the Cersei woman. The Lady Benedict would like to know, she has a question for you, Carlos. Isn't that the woman that had sex with her brother?
The same.
Okay, thank you. I've answered that. Okay, now, we have so much audio, we won't get to it all, but I'm going to get to some of it. Let's start with cut one, and it speaks for itself. This is Harry Enton, CNE's pollster. Here's what he had to say.
Look, the Democratic brand right now has about the appeal with the American voter as the Cracker Barrel rebrand has with the American consumers. Bad, bad, bad. What are you doing? Oh, my goodness gracious. What are we talking about here in terms of big party registration changes in the key swing states? Let's look at the key 4 swing states that, in fact, do keep track of registration by party. Look, the Republican Party is in their best position at this point in the cycle since at least 2005 in all 4 of these key battleground states. We go out to the Southwest, Arizona. How about Nevada? Republicans haven't done this well since 2005. Oh, my goodness gracious, at this point in the cycle. North Carolina, I couldn't find a point at which Republicans were doing better at this point in the cycle. It's at least this century. It probably goes way back in the last century. And Pennsylvania, very similar. Republicans doing better at this point than at any...
Okay, enough of that. You got the gist. Bad, bad, bad. Princess Diana has texted me back. We'll be happy to talk about the articles you mentioned, and I will. And I will send her those. And I can't wait. I want to hear her talk about... This is what I get. I bring up Princess Diana's name, and then the chattering starts out there. Well, I want to hear her talk about John Bolton. So, not me. I don't want to hear James. I don't want to hear you talk about John. I want to hear Princess Di talk about John Bolton. You're just a placeholder. I can't wait for Princess Di to weigh you on what John Bolton says. Oh, man, I I swear, things I have to put up with. Okay, Donald Trump was on a roll. This one has Tim Walz upset. I'm not going to play Tim Walz today, holding him tomorrow. We got too much stuff to deal with the lower echelon politicians like Tim Walz. We'll get to him later. But 3 quick things. Going to not listen to whole sound bites. We're going to just give you a taste. Cut 3, 4, 5. I mean, not 5. 3, 4, 6. Let's just go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You could do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots.
And that's the point. So the president has issued an executive order, 1 year in jail. No ifs, ands, buts, no parole, no nothing. You burn a flag, you spend a year in jail. He signed the executive order. We shall see. Liberals are losing. Their panties are in a wad over this one. Their panties are in a tight wad over this one. They don't like the idea that they won't be able to burn and desecrate the American flag. So that's 1. Number 4. Let's get to the next one.
Okay, let's go. Could I
ask you
to say exactly what this is?
Of course. So as you've consistently identified, sir, cashless bail policies are a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area does it cover?
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states in America.
Almost all of them, right?
Illinois would be a great example of that, sir.
Oh, they have a great cashless bail. You don't even have to go to court sometimes. No, Illinois, I love that state. It's a great state, but it's run so badly by Pritzker. They threw him out of the family business, and he becomes governor. Now he wants to run for president. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, we'll sign right here, right?
Sure. All right, boom. So you got cashless bail. Of course, liberals going to have a cow. They like criminals to be released in the neighborhoods where minorities live, especially so that they can continue to terrorize their minority citizens, make them live in fear and oppression. So but they do that for everybody. They're also happy when the criminals attack non-minorities because they then can feed on their revenge trial. Oh, look, the privileged got hit too. They just like criminals. Let's just face it. They just support criminals. All right, let's move on. Cut 6, self-evident from this. Ask the question, answered. Here's the axing.
Gavin Newsom, you mentioned Gavin Newsom on crime.
Gavin Newsom, yes.
Is there a federal mechanism you're hoping to use to fight back against his redistricting constitutional amendment, or is that...
Well, I think I'm going to be filing a lawsuit pretty soon, and I think we're going to be very successful in it. We're going to be filing it through the Department of Justice. That's going to happen.
Now, okay, let's move. You've heard that Donald Trump heading out to Chicago and other cities to do the same thing with them that he's doing to Washington. Democrats complaining every step of the way. In fact, there was an article in the Washington Post today. Yeah, Trump is making a federal case out of literally these. They're talking about the arrest. And they're ticked off because even people are being arrested for what the Washington Post considers minor things. Rudy Giuliani solved this ages ago. He said you start with the low-level crimes. You make sure that people aren't on the street doing low-level crimes. You stop that, and you get the major crimes. And that's you have to do in tandem. And he proved it in New York City. Trump is doing the same thing with the feds in D.C., but no, liberals are always going to whine about everything. Anyway, so he said he's going to Chicago. Oh, Brandon Johnson, this guy. doesn't like the idea that his city might be cleaned up next. That's Cut 18. And he was on PMS NBC, which will soon be PMS Now or whatever they're going to call themselves.
But the president has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to arrest 9 people in D.C. You know, that clearly he's demonstrated that he doesn't have a level of consciousness to understand what it takes to run cities, not to mention an entire country. And so, you know, look, we're going to remain firm. We'll take legal action. But the people of this city are accustomed to rising up against tyranny. And if that's necessary, I believe that the people of Chicago will stand firm alongside of me as I work every single day to protect the people of this city. The city of Chicago, one of the most diverse.
Okay, he went through that. Now, Trump hit him back. 19. So Trump was asked about that one. And this is what Donald Trump had to say about old Brandon now.
This is a meeting and a group of people that are doing an unbelievable job on a thing called crime, and in particular, violent crime. Today we're going to be discussing it. And I watched as a very incompetent mayor from Chicago said, well, what do they know? They only arrested 9 people. I said, 9 people? We didn't arrest 9 people. We actually arrested a total of well over 1,000 people. We took hundreds of guns away from young kids that were throwing them around like it was candy. We apprehended scores of illegal aliens. We seized dozens of illegal firearms. There have been 0 murders. It sounds sort of terrible to say. It's embarrassing. I did this over the weekend. I'm making a speech, and I acted like I was so proud as I said, we've had 0 murders in the last week. And some of these people were from foreign countries. They said, that doesn't sound so good. And I said, well, it doesn't sound good, but Washington was the most dangerous place in this country. And now, you know what? It's probably the safest place in our country. Everyone's starting to come here. The restaurants now you can't get in. Many of them closed because they couldn't open with crime. Everybody before me is happy what I'm doing. Most of you won't say that because you're radical left. The newspapers are so dishonest. The press is totally dishonest, but that's all right. We've gotten used to it.
Boom. I just love this. J.D. Vance, best response of all, Cut 20, and he asked the question that is on America, that should be one of the prevailing questions asked of every single Democrat in every blue city across these United States come November 2026, and then again in November 2028. And here is the question by Vice President J.D. Vance.
Roughshod over their cities and have been for decades. Why are Democrat governors angrier about federal law enforcement helping clean up their streets than they are about the fact that those streets need to be cleaned up to begin with? It shows a real sickness in the head. And I agree with the President of the United States. I think most Democrats, rank and file, nobody likes crime. Republicans don't like crime. Democrats don't like crime. Independents don't like crime. Why are Democratic governors doing everything in their power to make crime easier to do in their cities? It doesn't make an ounce of sense to me. But, Mr. President, I appreciate you being willing to help, and I hope these governors take you up on the offer because we should clean up all of America's streets. It's the right of every American to live in safety and comfort in their community.
Yes, my friends. On that happy note, we must take a quick break here. Fastest hour in media, just flying by. James Golden Snerdley coming back. Do not go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
My friends, I may have to have the Countess of Conspiracy on Saturday because I'm being raked over the coals for my comments about Circe. Anyway, so we got that. Yeah, I'm going to have to get, you have no idea the grief I'm taking over my comments earlier. I'm objectifying her. So I really want to get to the bottom of that. But we have to play one more thing. And happy heavenly birthday to Leonard Bernstein. I'm trying to look for one. We have so many voices from social media. This one, though, blew my mind. I'm trying to check to see whether we have enough time. Let's see. Cut 11, Carlos. We'll get into it as much as we can. We may not be able to play it all, but you'll get the idea. Here we go.
I teach high school. School just got out. I'm a block from the school and had to pull over because I'm so frustrated. But basically, one of our teachers is now going to be fostering one of our students because her parents just got deported. Just let that sink in. A minor's parents just got deported. She's homeless. DHS showed up to our school. We're her teachers. We love her. She's brilliant. She's kind. We're not going to let that happen to her. So one of us is fostering her now. I don't care about your political ideology. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on. This is not the way to handle immigration. Immigration has been an issue that has plagued America for so long, but this is not the answer. It's just not. And
you're getting it. So she goes on and on. Folks, if the parents are being deported, wouldn't they take their children with them? What am I missing here? Anyway, we're going to leave you today with Birdland because this is the heavenly birthday of another great, incredible musician. That would be Wayne Shorter, jazz saxophonist, composer. Everybody, he works with Miles, Weather Report, so many others. He's just one of the icons of American music. We got to go. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. God willing, we are here tomorrow. Until then, my friends, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?